Dr. Henry Fadamiro is a professor of entomology here. He's Chief Scientific Officer and Associate Director of Texas A&M AgriLife Research and serves as an Associate Dean for College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. He's very accomplished, as you can tell by his tremendous bio here, but I want to cut to the things that connect with most of us, first of all, here, which is he's received more than $20 million in research funding, published more than 125 peer-reviewed scientific articles, and trained over 30 postgraduate students and postdoctoral scholars. So he does have a background in research, and now he's serving in more of an academic administration capacity. But today he's going to be talking to us about investment advances in plant breeding and genetics. And I hope we'll have a lively discussion and we'll all learn some things and maybe get to contribute a little. So Dr. Fadamiro, thank you,
Dr. Murray. Thank you. Howdy.
Howdy.
Oh, that's Dr. Barton's body.
It sounds like it.
Sounds like it. Yes, so I just told Dr. Murray that sometimes we tend to claim the accomplishments of other people. So a lot of what he read about me was certainly not my own accomplishment by myself, but I've been very fortunate working with good people, teams, and most importantly, graduate students. So it's, the credit goes to them. I'm very pleased to join you today and to be invited to speak to this group. Plant science is my first love. So quote me, that's, and there's a reason for that. I grew up, in Western Nigeria. Although last week I was in San Angelo. I told them I was from West Texas. This week I was in East Texas. I told them I'm from East Texas. So depending on the day. But for this presentation, I was born in Western Nigeria. And growing up in Western Nigeria, my parents had a family farm. It wasn't it wasn't their main occupation, but because we inherited the farm, we had to go to the farm. So I followed my mom to the farm, and we grew, we were growing corn, we call it maize in that part of the world. Tubers and some other, staple food. But the most important one was corn. And I saw firsthand the devastation caused by insect pests to those commodities. But also I saw what it means when we talk about food insecurity. So that's actually the main reason why I took up a career in agriculture. So when I tell you that plant science is my first love, that's what I mean. I've always been involved in plant science. So very happy to be here. Also, I have very special friends in this department, starting with Dr. Bartensberger. When I came, he reached out to me. He's been very supportive, and we're very good friends. I can call him on speed dial, and he calls me. And I have a lot of you faculty, Dr. David Stelly, Dr. Ibrahim. I don't want to even continue to mention, but most of you, I have interacted with you. So thank you for the opportunity. I also want to thank Ellen and Catherine for inviting me. They've done a very good job reaching out to me and telling me exactly what they wanted me to talk about. So with that said, I'm going to be talking about a few things today. My presentation is divided into 4 sessions. First, I want to provide a brief overview of my background and experiences, because many of you, do not know me. I'm still relatively new here. When you think about, I visited Overton yesterday, and I saw some faculty members that have been with us for 50 years or more. So I'm very relatively new compared to those. And I want to talk about AgriLife Research operations. For those of you who are not quite familiar, my role as an administrator, part of my goal is to demystify, administrations, because many people don't really understand what we do. And, I want to be as transparent as possible. So if you have questions about that at the end, please feel free to ask me. Also, I want to highlight and brag on you, our faculty, highlight some of our advances in plant breeding and genetics, and there's plenty of those to choose from. And finally, I've been asked to talk about my perspectives on the future of plant breeding. So I'll say a few words, but I'm by no means an expert. So whatever I'm going to be sharing with you on that is based on my readings and discussion with experts, in the house. So you can take it for what it's worth. But I'm going to say a few things about it. So in terms of my background and interest, so I was born, like I said, in Western Nigeria, and was fortunate, to receive a scholarship for my PhD at Oxford. So I lived in England for some time, and then been living in the US now since 1996. So I'm, became a US citizen in 2003. So it's been like, this is probably the country I've lived the longest, but this is my background, And in terms of my professional experiences, when I graduated from the college, from the university college, bachelor's degree, my first experience was at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. And that was where I first really realized, got to know more about the legacy of Dr. Norman Borlaug, Green Revolution and all of that. And from there, I went to Oxford for my PhD. And then since I moved to the US in 1996, I've been fortunate to work at several land-grant institutions, which there's something about the land-grant system. If you really, really understand the land-grant system, you will know that that is probably the best, type of institution in the world, And so I'm a product of the land-grant system. Having worked at Iowa State University, University of Minnesota, I even worked at the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, so I know a little bit about, bureaucracy, I guess. You can talk about that. Auburn University, I was there for 18 plus years before joining Texas A&M University last year. My research interest, again, has been mentioned, I'm a professor of entomology here. And, agricultural entomology is really my passion. And my basic research, focuses on mechanisms of plant-insect interaction. Insects are some of those, animals that you cannot avoid. You all know. I mean, you love to hate them, and you hate to love them. And I have worked a lot on development of new and alternative techniques for managing insect pests. Worked on my basic research actually focuses on how insects perceive odor-mediated interaction in their brain, and the neurobiology of olfaction. So, I can speak the language of NSF. I've gotten NSF grants, very basic, but I'm very passionate about my applied research, integrated pest management. How do we manage, insect pests, which is what the farmers want me. So I have worked in that space a lot. And overall, my, interest is in sustainable agriculture. I know sustainable agriculture is a very broad term, depending on who you ask, but I have worked in that space a lot. Well, my research accomplishments, Dr. Murray mentioned a few things. This is the one I'm most proud of. I've mentored over 30 graduate students and postdocs and undergraduate researchers, over 25 that have worked with me in my life. Again, that to me is the most important accomplishment, because that is, what it's all about, mentoring people and, passing it to the next generation. I've also been fortunate to have, to be involved in administration. And there's a reason why I actually got involved in administration. I used to say, okay, oh no, I don't want to be involved in administration. But when I realized that sometimes as faculty, I used to complain, oh, we don't know what, they don't understand what we do. But then if all of us, then we understand research, if we run away from administration, chances are that the people that are going to be making those policies would not understand research. So that's one of the reasons why I said, okay, if everybody is running away, then maybe the best thing to do is for some of us to get into administration so we can actually help, the faculty. And that's my goal in administration. So I've worked in various, I've had a lot of opportunities in administration. I served as Extension IPM coordinator for Alabama for, over 12 years. And that actually helped me to understand the connection between research and extension. Even though I never had an extension appointment per se, having that role, that really helped me. Also helps me to understand the value of collaboration, multidisciplinary collaboration. Served as presidential administrative fellow, director of global program, and the last 5 years or 6 years before I came to Texas A&M, I served as associate dean for research and associate director of the experiment station. Exactly the same position that I'm in right now. But this is it. I am very proud of the opportunity to join Texas A&M University and to work with you. And I'm serving in this role, similar to the role that I was serving at Auburn University. And for more information about my background, this is my Wikipedia page that can summarize a few other things about it. So I just wanted to give a brief overview of my role as Chief Scientific Officer for AgriLife Research, and also now I'm doubling as the Associate Dean for Research for the college. And I think those roles are very connected. So it just allows me to look at my faculty community as including O2 faculty and O6 faculty. So it's all, it helps me to just see that as a, single community. And I'm not going to read everything, but everything that relates to faculty support, it's under my portfolio, corporate engagement. I have the pleasure, shall I say that, of reviewing and signing off on all our grants and contracts. And that's a lot, because you guys are very, very active. And on one hand, I enjoy reading at least the summary to learn more about what you do, but it's a lot of work, but I enjoy it. I manage our core research facilities and some of our centers. This is one of the roles that I really don't fancy, but somebody has to do it. I serve as research compliance and integrity officer for AgriLife. Obviously, research compliance is one of the things we need to do in this, day and age. But I work with the compliance office to make sure that they also have the faculty's perspective. When you're coming up with some of these rules, make sure that you have the faculty's perspective into this whole thing. And I have the pleasure of representing AgriLife in many groups and many national committees. I also help with international program development and international collaborations. All right, so moving to the second session, just to provide a brief overview of AgriLife. I know some of you understand it, but maybe some of our students probably don't have a full understanding of AgriLife. AgriLife is a big family. So think about the big umbrella that includes, 4 agencies, AgriLife Research, AgriLife Extension, TVMDL, Forest Service, and the college. So that's the big family. And in my case, I represent both AgriLife Research and the college. And these are the leadership, the individuals that lead AgriLife. Obviously, we have an interim vice chancellor now and dean, Dr. Mark Hussey, and then these are the directors of the various agencies. So talking about the college, obviously, we're proud of the college. It's one of the best ag colleges, one of the largest in the country. with over 7,000 students, 15 academic departments, ranked among the top nationally. So you students should be proud of, the college here. And AgriLife Research, AgriLife Research is the research, mission, or represent the research mission of AgriLife. And the mission per se is the classic land grant mission. It was established as Texas Agricultural Experiment Station in 1888 through the Hatch Act. But again, the name was changed, to AgriLife Research in 2008. And the mission is the classic land grant mission. And when you boil down the mission, you can boil it down to one single statement. It's actually to improve quality of life for people and the communities that we serve. Everything we do is about improving quality of life. So when you think about AgriLife Research, our strengths lie in the scope of our operations, but also in our people. So in terms of the scope, we have, we have centers all over the state. This is a very big state, as you know. We have centers from El Paso on the west to Beaumont on the east, from, the north in Amarillo and then to West Laco, so all over. And since I joined AgriLife last summer, one of the things that I enjoy is to visit those centers. I've visited 10 out of the 13 centers. The last one I visited yesterday, this week, was Overton. It's always great to go there to see what the outstanding work that our faculty are doing, meet people, get to know them, get to understand the challenges they are facing so that we can come up with ways to help them. And, and when we help them, we help ourselves. So in terms of our people, we have over 430 PhD level scientists, counting the O2 as well as the off-campus faculty. So that's a lot of people, and these are outstanding people.
You might just clarify for people what O2 and O6 are.
So O2 talks about the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences polls. Okay, so it's a it's a number that they use in the system to describe faculty that are adloc to the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. O6 refers to those that are adloc with AgriLife Research, mostly the off-campus faculty. Okay, and then you have O7 for extension. So those are some of the numbers that it's been fun for me to learn those numbers too. In terms of our funding, this is a massive operation. The largest in the country per se. When you think about it, every year we're averaging $280 million in research expenditure. That's big. No matter how you look at it. And sometimes, in terms of external grants, 125 million or more. And that is due to your outstanding productivity at faculty and at students. We're ranked number 1 nationally in ag and natural resources 6 out of the last 80 years, according to NSF ranking. So we should be proud of what we got here. And in terms of our areas, these are broadly defined areas that we play in. So I've listed some research interests here. So because we're a massive operation, we do virtually everything. And sometimes it's like being asked to pick your favorite child out of 5 or 6 children, it's a no-win situation. So we've listed a lot of things here. And obviously for this group, new crops, it's big. Plant genetics, all of this, these are some of our, priorities in AgriLife Research. We also have some institutes that help to facilitate interdisciplinary collaboration around some topics. And you can see those institutes listed there. The one that is probably very relevant to this group is the Norman Borlaug Institute for International Agriculture because of that name and the fame, that comes with that. The point I want to make here really is just.
So, Henry,
Yes, sir.
because you had the institutes there, Dr. Stover has an institute, and he's asked a lot of our faculty if they're interested in being something in that institute. Do you have any background and information on that?
I knew Dr. Bartensberger was going to ask the toughest question in the room. No, but seriously. So Dr. Stovak Institute, which is the Institute for Advancing Health through Agriculture. And there is actually an opportunity for plant breeding to participate in that institute. So the way the institute is being managed is there was a call for associate membership that went out last year, and those that applied, the institute directors, and I wasn't part of that discussion. The institute directors, along with USDA ARS, remember the USDA ARS is a partner for the institute, so they reviewed and they selected some candidates for associate membership. I have just received the names of those that have been selected, and they wanted my office to check to make sure that we didn't have any issue with those names. So I have shared that with the Vice Chancellor and Dr. Lund, and we are going to review and make sure that everything is okay before we give them feedback to say, okay, yeah, we're okay with the name. So that's where it is right now. So we have some names that were shared with us this week. We're going to meet before we provide feedback to Dr. Stovak.
Several others have been invited.
The other side of the other component of the institute was the postdoctoral fellowship program. So the institute also had funds to support postdoctoral fellows that will work with our faculty here, as well as USDA ARS faculty. And that also has been implemented. So for those, so what they did, the institute selected a few faculty to participate in that opportunity. So that opportunity was not broadly advertised.
But now he has advertised it more broadly.
Does that answer your question?
He's sought broad applicants right now, though. He has sent out a list that went to almost everybody that they could apply.
Yeah. So yeah, the affiliate program is, so there are 3 levels. There's the associate membership, there is the affiliate membership, then there is also the postdoctoral, fellowship. So the affiliate one is the 3rd one, okay? But I was not part of the selection process for the associate, but I have the names now of the people that have been selected. Okay.
So does that associate membership, does that get you a stipend?
Yes.
Okay.
It gets you a stipend. I think it's about $100,000 a year for 3 years or something. Okay. Along that, there's a stipend that comes with that. And obviously, your research that you will do that will have to align with the mission of the institute. Okay. And then the institute can claim credit for some of your
affiliate program actually is going to take 30 faculty members. They use the 25th of the month. You have to fill a form that is 1 page. And I think they're going to be provided with a 1 month salary.
Yes.
Okay. That they can use.
So, Dr. Bartensberger. All right, let me continue. So in terms of sponsors, I just listed some of our top sponsors here. Remember, I told you we get a lot of our funds from different agencies, but we have a lot of funds from NIH, mostly faculty in biochemistry, biophysics, nutrition, and some vet school faculty members that route their awards through AgriLife. So they play in that space. USDA, a lot of people from this department, NSF, Department of Energy, all of this. And also last year, our commodity sponsor, we got about 4.5 million from our commodity sponsor. So that is a big part of our research enterprise. And we value those kind of support from our commodity sponsors. We've heard that some faculty felt like we do not value production agriculture. No, Dr. Lambert and I have talked about that. Production agriculture remains one of our priorities in AgriLife Research, because that's part of our mission. Our mission as a land grant institution is to really address the needs of the producers. So this slide, I just want to brag on our faculty. I mean, just highlight some of the new award or recent awards that relate to plant science. Again, I just pick a few. If your award is not listed there, it's not because it's an oversight. It's just that there's just too many to list, okay? And I wanted to just show different, areas. Obviously, you're way out of the $10 million award, from the USDA NIFA program. And you can see, take for example, a lot of these are related to plant genomics and breeding. Dr. Mark Burroughs, award from NIFA is related to that. Dr. John Gifford is horticulture. He's looking at improving resistance in avocado. And Dr. John Kaysen, Stephenville, looking at breeding to increase peanut yields. And the AgriLife wheat team, led by Dr. Amir Ibrahim, are co-PIs on a $15 million wheat cap award from NIFA. So these are some of the things that we should be proud of in terms of plant breeding. And of course, again, we received several awards from industry and commodity groups. Bragging on our faculty still, I also want to highlight a few innovations that relate to plant breeding and genetics. Again, in terms of patents and disclosures, you can see we have done well. And most of that comes from this department. I've highlighted a few things there in the area of cotton breeding. You can see some of the innovations that came out of that. In the area of small grains breeding, there's a lot of innovations. I don't want to read everything because of time. Forage breeding, I was again at Overton this week. I had a great time with Dr. Ray Smith and learning more about his forage cultivars, including the giant, forage cowpea. These are great innovations. Other crops, corn, tomato, and peanut, rice, potato, topgrass, name it. There's been a lot of innovation from this department. But also in the Department of Horticulture, Dr. David Bond, is actually one of the ones that are receiving awards, for innovation this year. And Dr. Mutus and Biruni's, work on herbicide management, herbicide tolerance, sorghum and sunflower. These are some of the things. Again, I know that I'm missing other things, but I just want to highlight some of the things that we're doing well in this department that relates to plant breeding and genomics. So now talking about AgriLife Research focus and our investment and our priorities. One of our priorities is to increase our investment in research. And when we talk about that, you talk about faculty recruiting and retention. It's very important that we recruit and retain, we recruit the best available faculty out there, but retain them. those that are great, we don't want them leaving. So this is one of our goals, and we have been doing a lot of that the last few months, okay? Graduate student recruiting and professional development. We also want to support our grad students because that's also part of our research enterprise. You can't have a strong research program without good graduate students. So that's another of our priority. Also, our research staff, because that's the way it works. It's all connected. The staff are actually, in many cases, they are the ones that make, the system work. And also infrastructure and facilities. We all know that you can't have world-class, research without top-notch infrastructure and facilities. So these are some of our goals. We need money for all of this. But we all know that money doesn't grow on the tree too. So we have to look for resources, okay? That's one of the, vision of Dr. Lam. We're actually hiring a development officer, an associate director that's going to be helping us with development, raising funds to support some of the things that we want to do, because we can't rely on state funding only. The pot is not getting bigger today, okay? Another focus of our leadership is partnership and collaboration. Again, in order to solve the grand challenges of our time, we need to collaborate. So collaboration is not only because we need more money, but actually to solve problems, we need to collaborate. So our goal is to facilitate collaboration where it makes sense with, the TAMUS, the system-wide, with TEs, HSC, and our regional universities. I've visited some of those regional universities because they want to collaborate with us. And we're looking at how we can make that happen. Other institutions, industry, and also global partnerships. So these are some of the things that we would like to promote in AgriLife Research. In terms of our current investment, I listed a few new faculty hires, and these are mostly O6, that is off campus. The reason why I listed them is because many of you on campus may not actually have met them, or you may not even know about them. And we've hired, and these are some of the faculty that we've hired recently in the area of plant science. And you can see, some of them are interested in breeding. So crop physiology, rice breeding. And so we will continue to hire outstanding faculty members. Also, we are going to continue to provide seed funding support for research. And we expect our faculty to bring in extramural funding, but we also know that to bring in extramural funding, you have to generate preliminary data. Nobody's going to give you $5 million to work on something that you don't have a proof of concept, okay? So we understand that. So we have various programs, and we're going to continue with that. This year alone, we spent about $4.3 million in equipment funding that we gave to our faculty to support new equipment. $4.3 million this year alone. When you look at all of these programs and some of the other programs that I did not list here, we invested about $13 million since I got here in seed funding to our faculty. So we're very proud of that. We know that our faculty will use that to leverage extramural funding. Also, we are trying to coordinate our facilities and maybe improve where necessary. So one of our top core facilities, remember when I talk about facilities, we recognize that there are some departmental facilities, okay? And that's great. We can support them when needed, but we're also talking about core facilities that are cut across multiple departments, units, and even colleges. And some of our core facilities includes the Texas Genomics and Bioinformatics Services. I know many of you have used that before. And I've been working with Johnson to see what we can do to assist and strengthen that facility. Another facility that is relevant to this group is our plant growth facility and our new automated precision phenotyping facility that is, I just got the news today that it's ready. Finally, we've been working to get it ready, but the news is it's ready now. How many of you have been to the automated precision phenotyping facility? Okay. All
I
right.
haven't been to it, but it's right across the street.
Okay. So this will be a new facility, the first in this whole area. We're not aware of any of this type of facility in.
Is the director here now?
Yes, Troy Van. You know Troy. Troy, many of you know Troy because he used to manage the Southern Crop Improvement next,
He doesn't,
greenhouse.
he doesn't still?
He used to, but now it's combined. Okay, so he's providing oversight for both facilities. Okay, so and the reason is the two facilities are gonna be integrated because the people that use this are also the same people that use it. So it helps to have, an understanding of how to structure the usage of the two facilities. Okay. We're also talking about, establishing an ag improvement core facility, or you can call it gene editing facility. Plant breeding now, one of the ways to really enhance plant breeding is gene editing. And we have some facilities that are on, in AgriLife, but they are small facilities. We're trying to see how we might be able to coordinate or maybe incorporate all of those facilities into a big facility to avoid duplication and redundancies and maybe for efficiency. We're talking about that right now. And also I want to highlight some departmental facilities that are very relevant to this department. The Crop Genome Editing Lab, Dr. Michael Thompson is leading that. Of course, the multi-crop transformation facility. These are some of the facilities that we're proud of. And if there's anything we can do to enhance those facilities or maybe integrate them, if that's going to lead to efficiency, we are having that conversation right now. So I also want to highlight some units, AgriLife units that are there to support our faculty and our students, to support your research. Many of you may have interacted with the Corporate Engagement and Research Support Office led by Carl Montaigne, and they have their two types of services provided by that office. They help you with corporate engagement. If you want to link up with the industry, they help, but they also help with proposal development for major proposals. So if you are writing major proposals and you need help, that group, provides that help. So please feel free to reach out to me if you need to. That office reports to me, so I work with them on a regular basis. Obviously, we are proud of our contract and grant administration office. It's a lot of work they do because I'm very at work. I just met with them even this morning. So there's a lot of work involved, with that office because of the volume. So sometimes when you see a little bit of delay, it's not like they're not working, it's because the volume is massive. And we're talking about, 430 faculty members, and everybody's, most of our faculty members are outstanding and they're very active. So that's one of the reasons. But if you have had any negative experience with any of these offices, please let me know so I can try to facilitate things. That's my role. Also, we have the Intellectual Property and Commercialization Office, led by Jenny Hawley and Robert. And they help with license agreements for some of our varieties and other innovations. Foundation Seed, out in Vernon, helps with production of genetic pure seeds for new cultivars. So these are some of the offices that are available to help plant science related research. And of course, the Texas A&M Technology Commercialization Office, TTC, helps with commercialization of our innovations. So again, if you have any questions about any of these offices and, any of these offices, please let me know.
So
Okay.
you said to check in with you if you've had bad experiences. Do you want to know if we've had good experiences too?
Yes, and
Carl Montine and his office are really phenomenal.
thank you. That is the same feedback that I got from Overton yesterday. So when I say bad experiences, I also mean good experiences, because I just want to, the reason why I said that is because sometimes it's faculty are more reluctant to share those experiences with us, and we want to learn and we want to know what we can do better. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's it. So one of the things I was asked to talk about was plant breeding and what we do in our office. I know I'm preaching to the choir here because you guys already know the process. So I've been talking to some of my colleagues, I want to understand the process of plant breeding and the steps involved here at TM, even though I have a general understanding, but I just wanted to know what exactly happens here. And the more I talk to people, the more I realize that, okay, the best way to describe the process is to use that common extension phrase. It depends. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on the crop. It depends on the methodology, the plant breeding approach that you're using. It depends on Mother Nature. It depends on a lot of things. So, but I have used, just for an example, I've used wheat as an example here based on the information we received from Dr. Jack Rod, and compiled by, Carl Montine. You can see it takes from 12 to 15 years. And for those of you that are grad students, the first thing you're probably going to be thinking is, whoa, that's a long time, but how can we speed this up? There are technologies out there now that can help you to speed it up, okay? And, there's a lot of things that take place, and I'm not going to go into the details because, again, you guys are the expert. I'm not an expert here. But these are the various steps. And some of the offices that I mentioned, especially the IPAC office is involved in some of these steps, okay? And fast forward, if you're lucky and everything works well by year 13 and you are ready to release, you also have to go through the plan review committee. You have to send, it's like when you're about to publish a paper, you have to send it out for peer review to make sure that, okay, this is really, you've done it following the standard procedure. And I get to approve some of those plan review committee applications. And it's my joy whenever I sent to me, I looked at, oh, we have a new variety that's been released. I love to hear that. So that is part of the process. I'm not going to go into the details here, but essentially, but just to note that all right, so plant variety trials. So this is another topic that I am trying to understand well, the way we do it here. Because it's been brought to my attention that there are some inconsistencies the way we do things, and I want to have a historical perspective first before we know whether there's actually a need to do anything differently. And I plan to have a conversation with Dr. Bottensberger on this and some of you, but what I understand is there are different plant variety trials, and some are done through the department. The agreements are done through the department. Some are done through the, contract office. So my understanding is that we have the breeder or pipeline trials, the fee for service, and the sponsored research trials. Question is always how how do you determine which is the right trial in terms of when you're setting up the agreement? So this is a conversation that I would like to have more with Dr. Bortensberger and some of you to better understand. But that has been brought to my attention that there is some, there's need for clarity on how we do our plant variety trials. So, go ahead.
So, I'll just point out that those last two are mainly on the extension side. For this group, which is plant breeding, I think all of us would be developing varieties and we'd be planting them, not necessarily contracting with companies to trial their varieties.
And that may be true, maybe
That's
for
partially
especially
true.
the fee for service, is it?
It is partially true. A lot of the trials are done by the extension, but sometimes we contract with companies to test their stuff for that.
Okay.
Even the breeding material, actually. Because what you refer to is called the uniform variety trial, right? That is done by the extension agronomists statewide.
Right.
But in some cases, the breeding programs actually have contracts with companies to do their breeding lines. In
This
some
is-
locations.
This is part of
And
the,
you go into contracts and grants,
It
sometimes.
seems like Dr. Bortensberger.
I think the issue that we have with contracts and grants is that they have to pay IDC, but if you go through the department, they only pay 10%. These are the types of issues that we need to talk.
Yeah, I think we probably need to have this discussion offline because it's a detailed discussion, but I just wanted to mention that is an area that probably we need to visit to talk about, so I can better understand what is going on here. Dr. Bortensberger, I will, because of time, I will visit with you on this, okay?
yes, we can set up another discussion, smaller group.
All right, okay. So let me finish this presentation. I have a couple more slides, so. All right, let me. It's frozen. Okay, all right. So in terms of my perspectives on future of plant breeding and genetics, like I said, I'm not an expert. This is based on my discussion with experts and my reading. But what I understand is, when you think about the projection that the world population is probably going to hit 10 billion by 2050, and we probably need to increase food production by 60 to 80%. How do we do that without plant breeding? It ain't going to be possible. So there is a bright future for plant breeding. Plant breeding is going to continue to be very relevant or even more relevant, for the future. In terms of opportunities, there's, we talk about climate smart agriculture. There's a big opportunity for plant breeding, in that space. Drought tolerance, resistance to insects and pathogens, they're going to continue to be important, invasive pests, domesticated pests, everything is going to be very important. Herbicides, herbicide tolerance is going to continue to be important. But one area that is relatively new, but that's probably going to be very important in the future is food for health, breeding for improved food and nutritional quality, or biofortification or nutraceutical. That's going to continue to be very important as people become more and more aware of their health. It is an area that I think we need to, pay some attention to. And that is one of the goals of by the way, of the IHA, the Institute for Advancing Health through Agriculture. In terms of career opportunities, it's going to be everywhere. Plant breeders are always going to continue to have very great jobs in academia, research institutions all over the world. They're always going to need plant breeders. Industry, that's also always going to be, an option in the private sector, service sector, or even self-employment. So for students, the future is bright. The opportunities are limitless from my own view. Next slide, please. So one challenge, as I read more about plant breeding, and based on my understanding too, one challenge about plant breeding is always how do you speed up the process? I showed you the slide from wheat. it can take 10 to 15 years. That's a long time. And so there's a lot of work and technologies out there now. You know, many of them are still not proven, but at least people are talking about it. For example, I saw some of these, you know, there's a Nature paper on, I know some of you may have seen it, speed breeding, you know, using light and temperature to speed up the flowering, and so that you can cut the process that from 10 years to maybe 5 years or less. You know, those are the kind of things that you students should be thinking of. Also, gene editing, you know, it's going to be very important. AI, combination of gene editing, AI, and some of this technology will continue to remain very important in the future in terms of expanding opportunities for plant breeders. Finally, this is my final slide, and it's a form of summary. And the first point I want to re-emphasize is that AgriLife continues to prioritize and invest in production agriculture and plant breeding research. That is one of our goals, you know, in AgriLife Research. We are very proud of what our outstanding faculty, staff, and students are doing and the impactful innovations they are making in plant breeding. And finally, like I said, the future of plant breeding and crop improvement is bright and filled with innovative technology. So technology is going to continue to be very important for plant breeding and genetics. And again, thank you for the opportunity. You know, if I have time for questions, I'll be happy to. You know, Dr. Ibrahim.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Fadamiro, for this talk. You alluded to the seed funding, but mainly for equipment. We used to have some seed funding opportunities, such as the monopod improvement, the cropping system initiative, and all of those. And actually, we proved that actually have very good return on investment on those types of funding opportunities. They have gone away. So, is there anything in the vision for them to come back?
Yes, I understand what you're talking about. So, like the cropping systems,
Yes.
seed funding. So
Yes,
the way it worked was, it used to be an exceptional item. And then once the rider means the, so when the funding was received from the state legislature, it had a rider that you have to use it for that purpose for a certain number of years. Once that number of years was over, then the administration could use it anyhow they want. So what happened was that part of that fund, when there was a need to give money back, when there was budget issues, part of that fund was taken back, and a big portion of the fund also is being used to support crop science program, Lubbock, and some of the other so it's no longer like a seed funding per se, competitive, but the money is still being used.
Yes.
We're talking about that right now. Dr. Lamb and I are talking about maybe we need to bring that back into a competitive mechanism. Okay, so the money is still there, a little bit of it is still there, but is it better to use it the way we're using it now, sending it to some people that we know, like for example, the FOV4 work in Lubbock is being supported by that fund. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Can we have a question from a student?
Oh, sorry.
Put us on the spot. So what opportunities are open for graduate students, or I guess postdoctoral jobs that are going to be open in the future, especially since we're facing this crisis of 9.2 billion people in 2050. We're going to have to feed the world. So what kind of job opportunities are going to open? Are they going to be mainly corporate, like Bayer, crop sciences, Syngenta, or are there going to be more opening in companies?
So in terms of companies, some of the companies are consolidating. So
Mhm.
there will, obviously, I expect that there will continue to be jobs that are open for new graduates.
Mhm.
But in terms of postdocs, I think it's actually more difficult now to hire postdocs in certain fields because the industry is offering them, another path. So I know some faculty that are looking for postdocs right now.
Mhm.
So there would always be, as long as some of our faculty get grants, they need postdoc.
Mhm.
So I think I don't have any concern about postdoc. I think it's actually the concern is finding
Mhm.
postdoc rather than. So if you are interested in postdoc opportunities after your PhD, there should be plenty of opportunities out there.
Mhm.
Am I wrong? Because you guys are in the business. So from what I understand, it's hard to find postdoc.
Qualified postdocs. Yeah, we have a position actually in Corpus Christi for a UAV postdoc, and we could not find someone for that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, based on what you said there, I mean, the one thing I didn't hear you mention, we are the world leaders in UAVs and drones and phenomics. I mean, based on an AgriLife investment that happened back in 2015 and 2016 that involved about 40 faculty. And so, I didn't see that in there. So I hope you're aware of that. I mean, Juan Landabar to Amir Ibrahim to, a ton of people throughout ag engineering.
I am aware of that. And when I mentioned, I think I mentioned broadly under AI you're right. UAV will be very important. And by the way, there was a regional conference on AI in agriculture at Auburn University last month. Juan Landabar and I attended on behalf of AgriLife. So I'm aware of that. So when I mention AI,
But AI is totally separate, right? So we can do AI with genomics or whatever.
Yes.
The UAV is something we have a sort of strong expertise on across the college.
yes.
That's unique to AgriLife.
Yes, and that is certainly going to continue. We're going to continue to support that. I agree.
I have a few sort of strategic observations that I think relate to strategy, and it's not to imply that you're not aware of them already, but maybe you would just kind of comment on them. So one of them is we've talked about the greenhouse situation and gene editing, et cetera. And this came up in a meeting just the other day, actually with Dr. Hussey, you were there, where we were discussing the need to have facilities that marry those two types of endeavors in one location. So because the transport and so on of genetically engineered or edited plants is problematic, and you can't have people riding buses around or whatnot. So there need to be some co-located high quality facilities. And so I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, because I know that they're talking about putting perhaps some new greenhouse complex on Fin Feather or whatever. And then another one is the need to have a major investment here or elsewhere to delve more deeply into root characteristics and development, biology, rhizosphere, et cetera. It's still relative to the aerial parts of the plant. It's very underdeveloped scientifically, and we have a lot that needs to be done there. So that's a frontier that we should be looking at. And then the third one is not totally unrelated. So to support both the breeding as well as, let's say, the genetic engineering or whatnot, we really need to beef up our agricultural plant sciences, basic plant sciences, to better equip ourselves, give ourselves tools and targets to work on. And those are strategically, to me, three big areas that need emphasis in our thought processes.
Thank you for those comments. Dr. Hussey and I mean, and some of us are going to be meeting over some of the topics that he shared that with us. And we're going to be visiting to better, understand, what is the best way
Yeah.
to support, those things. So I'm gonna hold up on my comments until we have, since it's on our agenda. So I don't want to say something that's not gonna be consistent with what's it.
So the needs are recognized.
Oh, yeah, everybody we recognize the need. And it's something that we are gonna be discussing on how to address it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a state initiative on some of these things. A couple of them would probably be very, very relevant,
Yes,
right?
yes,
I mean, you're talking things that require tens of millions of dollars to really make a big dent.
Right.
But we're talking about global problems, huge problems.
right. You're right. You're right. He shared that with us. I mean, leadership team, we've already, we have a plan to talk about it. We may actually get back to you just, to get further, maybe ideas or information from you, okay?
Okay, I got
Thank you.
more ideas than information.
Yeah, we have a lot of issues like this. One example actually to add to what David said is the proportion of faculty to technicians, especially at the centers, the O6 that you referred to. In some centers, actually, you cannot find a technician to prepare the land and to do the agronomic operations, because every center wants to hire faculty in every discipline. And that does not give money for the technical support. So that's a serious issue that is coming along the way. We need to prepare for it.
You're right. So you see, that's it. And this is why it's great to have this conversation with different groups of faculty, but also know that the perspective may be different, okay? So the way some other people will view it, oh, we need more faculty. That's the first thing. And truly, you need to have critical mass of faculty. If you have we visited San Angelo Center, less than 2 weeks ago, and they don't have critical mass of faculty, so it's hard to. So it's all. We have to look at it, holistically, and so that's part of why Dr. Lamb, one of his goals is to actually raise funds outside of the regular mechanism that will be used. So if we can find additional funds, that would help us more. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Let's thank our speaker for this week and